Hello and welcome back to another episode of MC Airsoft. My name is Mark and today is going to be part 3 of setting up, in this case, an SSG-10. But it could be for, any bolt action. This video is going to be specifically for bolt actions that don't have adjustable cheek risers, or you don't want to use the adjustable cheek riser because it's uncomfortable. Or for, whatever reason, maybe you need to bulk it up a little bit more or something like that. So this method, I think I've had this on my real bolt action for probably about a decade now. Works great. I saw it in my time in the Marines. I saw it on real bolt actions that I was working on. I saw it on M110s. And so, this isn't just an airsoft thing. If you want to apply it outside airsoft, great. But obviously today we're going to be talking about airsoft. And so, pretty easy list for what you need. In this case, it's going to be athletic tape. Now, what we're going to be doing, building a cheek riser, the goal of it is, so if I push my cheek down into the scope or into the stock right now, I'm looking about between this, or about where that hole in the scope ring is. That's not where we want to be looking. We want to be looking through our scope directly. Okay, but we also want to maintain a good positioning behind the scope. We want to take this bone right here, the cheekbone. It's nice and flat. We want to line it up right on the stock. We want to be able to place it in the same spot every time, especially because this scope doesn't have parallax adjustment. And essentially what parallax is if you have your scope, your red dot, your crosshairs, whatever, and you start to move behind it where you can still see the crosshairs, you can still see the dot in this case, crosshairs, dot, right? You can still see what you're supposed to see in order to hit your target, but the parallax refers to how far off that shot's going to be because you moved your head, right? It should be close. It will be closer than it might feel like normally, as long as you have a decent scope. This is an airsoft scope, so I'm guessing parallax is going to be pretty bad. But it's going to be close, but we want to do our best to eliminate it, okay? Now, we're not going to be able to get rid of it entirely, but we're going to minimize it. So, essentially, we just want to take our line here, okay? We want to make sure that we are nice and behind the scope, zero scope shadow. We're going to start placing our athletic tape underneath this to fill that gap so we can have a repeatable position, right? So I already kind of jumped ahead, and what I did is I took one roll of athletic tape. This is just about 1.5 inches, something like that. Athletic tape off Amazon, got another roll back here. I took my athletic tape, I cut a slot into it with my bandsaw so we can open it like that, and then I popped out a little bit. You want to take out the cardboard at the very least, but because I've already kind of done some measurements, I just took this out, and if I need to put it back, I can, because it's one solid piece. If I need to build it up further, I have more tape, and then I got this tape ready to go to attach it. So what we're going to do, I'm going to take my marker, I'm going to get right behind it, okay? Now, like we said in the other video, it's probably best to do this in the prone because then that's as far forward as your cheek is probably going to go. So right where my thumb is, okay, I can just put my thumb there. It's going to make a black line, which even if you're not going to paint this stock, little black Sharpie mark, not going to really see it. Now I'm using a white athletic tape because I know I'm going to be painting over it, not a big deal. But if you are not planning on painting it, you might track down some black athletic tape or whatever color you want to use. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it and I'm going to line the front up with that line, okay? And then I want to make sure that I hold it on top of the stock. That's pretty important, right? So it's not off to one side. Now I am a left-handed shooter for the astute amongst you. So if it cants a little to the right, not a huge deal, but we want to try and keep it centered. And we're going to make sure that it is pushed up, okay? And this first wrap can be a little sloppy. Doesn't need to be perfect. Just kind of need to get the tape on there, that initial block of tape. You can use other, you could tape a wood block there if you wanted, or EVA foam, I've seen that one. You can tape pretty much whatever you want on there, as long as it is as comfortable as you want it to be and it's the right size, okay? So we got one wrap. I'll go ahead and tear the tape there. I like athletic tape because it's cheap. You can tear off layers as you go if you need to raise or lower it. And yeah, you can also wrap it on itself. It sticks really well. It's yeah, it's a pretty good material for doing this. What I'm going to do off camera later is I'll be taking some JB weld, some 5-hour JB weld, and we're just going to put a thin layer over it so it soaks in, so it becomes a little more rigid, and also so paint doesn't just soak into it. You could alternatively just soak it with paint and then paint your gun. So got that first layer on there, okay, and because I did my pre-measurements, that's pretty well set. So the reason we want to be able to do this is because we can just pop down behind the rifle and we're immediately on target, okay? So that works for what I'm doing. And so we'll make sure that it doesn't shift anymore. Now, technically your cheekbone, how it sits, it's going to create a weird angle, like a more pointed angle. Do you need to follow that with the tape? Not necessarily, but you can. So we'll go ahead and keep taping. Okay. The tape is also going to help smooth out some of the wrinkles and things like that. It does kind of look weird right now, but when it's painted, it'll all make sense, okay, and it'll look appropriate to the rifle. If you have an adjustable cheek riser, you can still put a thin layer of tape on there just to make it a little more comfortable. Because also if you're going to be down behind the rifle for any amount of time, or you're going to be popping it up real quick, it helps. Yeah, because you want to be comfortable behind your rifle. And this is just going to make it a little more custom for you. So you don't have to live with whatever the manufacturer's specifications on how your cheek should fit on your rifle, or, you know, so and we'll do a couple layers. Like I said, this helps even everything out. Also, it's going to build it up a little bit more, which is fine for what I want out of this setup, but just keeping that in mind, this is going to build it up a little bit more, so you might want to add, or might want to take off a little bit more tape. Now I'm just going to keep going through this whole roll. Make sure it's going to make sure it's real secure on there. This stuff is waterproof. It's athletic tape, so it's meant to withstand sweat and things like that. Also, if we're tightening it down, if we're tightening down this wrap, it's going to help roll over those edges, so it'll fit a little bit better on your cheek. Okay. Now I bought it in a 3-roll pack. Am I going to use all 3 rolls? Probably not. I might use some of the next one. We'll see. But I won't make y'all suffer through that. So I'll finish this up later. Now again, we're going to double check. Okay. We're going to put our cheek right there. Okay. That is a nice repeatable position right there for me. If you want more tape, if you want less tape, you can also get lower cheek, or you can get lower scope rings. Make sure that your scope clears your barrel, obviously, but you can get lower scope rings, which means you don't need as much tape. But for me, this works. And like I said, I've done it on a real rifle for about a decade now, and I've seen it done on real military rifles. Yeah, that's the basics of how to do that. Quick and easy, real simple to do. Don't be afraid to modify your rifle to make it a little more comfortable for you. So with that being said, my name is Mark, and stay safe and stay hydrated.